pro at this now. So good morning, everyone. I just wanted to say hi, Happy New Year, merry everything for the year, and may your 2022 be just phenomenal. And I want you all to know that each and every one of you are phenomenal, and you need to make your year as phenomenal as you are. So starting with really basic computing, and this is a webinar that I really enjoy doing. I often think to myself, people that are on Zoom already should know the fundamentals. But very often we're introduced to computers and we just put in front of a computer and somebody else has done the work for us. And we're not necessarily comprehending how a computer actually operates. And one of the first things I'm going to tell you about computers is that computers are designed to for human interaction. So, and the biggest thing about a computer is what you input into the computer is what you're going to output from the computer. So when you put rubbish into a computer, you're going to get rubbish out of a computer. And I'll explain that a little bit later. And one of the things that computers are amazing about is they think that us humans are doof. Okay, so I first of all want to dispel the myth of being afraid of deleting something or corrupting something, because your computer will always say to you, are you sure you want to do this? And if there is even a tiny bit of doubt in your mind, don't do it. Okay, then consult somebody who knows what they're talking about. Don't think that it's simple. And very often we don't read warning instructions. A little thing pops up and we go, yes. I'm going to urge you guys to start reading those instructions so that you can actually comprehend what your computer is trying to tell you. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and start off the presentation. I'll stop my slideshow. Okay, so what I wanted to explain to you is that every single computer, laptop, iPad, notebook, all of that contains what we call a CPU. Okay, and a CPU is an acronym for Central Processing Unit. And this contains the motherboard. Now, it's all pretty logic if you think about humans and how a computer is created. So the motherboard, obviously the mother of humans, will create life. The motherboard of your computer creates life into your computer. Okay, so it really is the brain of your computer. So if you think about how your mind works, when you were attempting to collect a memory or something like that, it's almost like we've got little librarians in our mind that go and find the information that we're thinking of and bring it to the front of our minds. The same thing with the computer is we tell the computer we want to find X, okay, and what it will do is almost imagine little people in your computer. They go through the motherboard, they go through the library, and they find what it is that you are looking for. Apologies for that. Now, there's also two concepts that you need to know. That one of the concepts is that you have hardware. Now, the easiest way to comprehend what is hardware, so it's hardware versus software. Hardware is everything that you can touch, okay? So a couple of examples of a hardware would be your CPU, it would be your screen, it would be your mouse, it would be your printer, it would be your laptop. Those are all your keyboard, anything that you can actually physically, so I'm holding my mouse, I'm going the wrong way, okay. This is hardware because I can actually touch it, okay. So when people talk about hardware, they're talking about an item that you can actually feel and touch that connects to your computer, okay. Software, all right, is everything that you can't touch. So in other words, programs. different types of programs that you would use on your computer. For example, all of you at the moment are using Zoom. That is software, all right? So I can't really touch it. I can load it onto my computer, but it's not a physical thing that I can touch. So therefore, it's software. Okay, some examples of software would be your operating system, your Windows 10 or 13, whichever you're using, Zoom, which we're using today, your Explorer, your Internet Explorer, Google, your Word, Excel, Outlook, all of those programs are software. So everything that you load onto your computer is software. So that's just a little bit in terms of terminology that would be used around computers. So people would say, what hardware are you using? What hardware is connected to your computer? It would be what software, what operating program are you using? So that would be the software that they particularly are referring to. Okay. All right. So basically, I wanted to start today just with how to turn your computer on and off, a basic knowledge of computers and terminology, which I've already pretty much touched on, and saving documents into files and directories and finding them again. A lot of us are lazy in terms of setting up the proper directory to start off with. And then we land up with a computer that's filled with files and folders, and we have no idea where we found things. So I'm going to also give you a really easy way of finding files. So if one uses logic with computer, it actually can make a lot of sense and it can benefit you hugely. Okay, so in your directories, all right, you have folders and you have files. Okay, so a folder is and it's quite interesting because I said to Mia this morning, can you see my Explorer? And she said no. And when we talk about an Internet Explorer, which is obviously your icon that will take you to the internet, and then there's a little let me stop sharing and just go. I'm going to share my actual screen with you. Just give me a second and I'll explain that now. Okay, so all of you have got these directories on your computer. Am I sharing the right thing, Trace? This is also called an Explorer.
Yes, you are, Trace. Sorry, I was just unmuting myself. You are.
Okay, this is also called your Explorer. So this little icon over here at the bottom of your screen, okay, is your File Explorer, so your Directory Explorer. So it's all about exploring what's actually on your computer. So bear that in mind in terms of when somebody says to you, go to your Explorer, the question would be, do you want me to go to my Internet Explorer or do you want me to go to my Computer Explorer? Okay. All right. I wanted to carry on sharing. I apologize for that. Let me get that going. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to stop sharing that again, and I'm going to go back to what's on my computer currently, which I just closed. So I'm just going to open that up and just close that for a second. All right. Are you seeing my desktop, Trace?
I'm seeing Zoom, your Zoom page.
Using Zoom, okay.
Yeah.
Let's, okay. Apologies. Okay, so that's my calendar. Are you seeing my desktop now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so most of you have a desktop like this that will show you, you've got icons at the bottom, all right? And what I suggest is...
Trace, apologies, it's still on calendar.
It's still on calendar.
Yes.
Okay, let me just reshare that. Thanks, Trace. Okay, let me do that. What are you seeing now?
Desktop.
Perfect.
Perfect.
So you can see my mouse at the bottom is showing you these icons. Okay, so when we talk about icons, they're little shortcuts that we've created on our computer. So I'm going to just quickly show you how you can create those icons. So what it is it's an ease of reference. Okay, so what I like to do is on my tab at the bottom is have icons of programs that I use continuously. So one of the programs that I do use very often is Word. But as you can see, I don't have an icon at the bottom of my screen that gives me a shortcut to my Word. Okay. Now, if you have a look at the bottom of your screen, it says type here to search. Okay. And what we can do, there's two ways of finding your programs. The first one is to go to your start bar, okay, and all of your programs will be listed. You can scroll down like this. So when you're not sure what the program is called, you can go into that and see what programs are actually on your computer. So if you have a look, if I go to W, there's my Word icon. But I want to give you a way that works for me, that I use very often, okay? And it's to type in what I'm looking for. So I go type here to search, and I type in the word Word, all right? Now, I want to pin, all right? And that means connect the icon to my taskbar at the bottom, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on my application, all right? And I'm going to pin it to my taskbar. So as I do this, I want you to look at the bottom where you can see the Zoom icon is highlighted, okay? And I'm going to pin it to the taskbar. So now my Word program is very easily accessed from the bottom of my screen. So I can just push that and it will automatically open up my Word documents. Okay, the same with my email. Now, say now, for example, I'm also I'm a big fan of my scanning program, which is HP Scan, all right? And I use it a lot, and I use it for printing and all of that kind of thing. So I'm going to go once again to my type your search here, and I'm going to go into HP Smart. Apologies, it's called Smart. It also gives you the options over here. What do you want to do with it? Okay, so I could pin it to start, which means that it would automatically open up when I start my computer, or I'm going to pin it to my taskbar because I don't want it necessarily open. The more programs that open with your computer, the slower your computer is going to become. Okay, so a lot of you will start your computer and it will take a long time for your computer to actually boot up. It means that you've got too many processing programs for your computer, which has slowed your computer down. Okay, it's not part of basic computer, so I'm not going to go into it too much, but just be aware of what is opening up, what your computer has to think about. So think about when you wake up in the morning, what do you have to think about? You have to think about, am I on time? Did my alarm clock go off? What do I have scheduled for today? I've got to get myself into the shower. I've got to do this. So your mind is going. Whereas if you had made a to-do list the night before when you went to sleep, of everything that was needed to be done the next day, you'd probably wake up a lot more refreshed, and you would go, okay, I just need to look at my to-do list, which would make you wake up in a quicker frame of mind, if you know what I mean. Does this make sense to everybody? Everybody okay with this? Any questions at this point? We're all good. I hear someone online. No, all good. Okay.
Sorry, can I just ask about the pinning? How do you actually pin? How do you take it from the document in order to pin it to the taskbar? How do you actually pin it? Do you write the document? Or?
Okay. Okay, I'll go onto a document now, Odette. Okay, let me find a document. Okay, so let's just go. I know for a fact that Ort have sent me a background. Okay, so I'm going to type in here at the bottom, background image. Okay, that's not really what I'm looking for. I can go down. That's not really what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go on to, I just need to move this out of the way. Okay, webinar background over here. Okay, so this is last year's webinar thing, all right? Now, if I wanted to use that continuously and I wanted to pin it to my taskbar, I'm going to close it, but I'm going to go on the file, okay? And I'm going to right-click. And if I right-click, it should tell me I can pin it. No, I can only pin a program. Okay, you can't pin a file to your taskbar.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So I just wanted to go to HP Scanner, show you quickly. I can spell. All right. So I can go over here, or I can right click here and pin it to my taskbar. Okay. So now, also every now and again, it's a good idea to clean your computer up and not have it too busy. So I haven't, Seda, for example, I haven't used HP Smart for a while, and I no longer want it on my taskbar. Okay, so once again, I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to unpin it, and it's going to take it away. Now, I need you to remember that when you're using your mouse and you are left clicking your mouse, all right, you're telling your computer to do something. When you are using your right click, you are asking your computer to give you more options. So if I right click on my screen, it's going to give me more options, all right? If I left click on my screen, okay, it's going to do something. It's going to open something. It's going to do what you ask it to do. And it's either one click or two clicks, all right? Each program has a different kind of elements to how they're going to open. Okay, so now we've got taskbars over here. All right, so these are the programs that I use all the time. Okay, and then these are on my desktop, and they're what we call a shortcut. So you'll see that there's a little arrow on the program or on the file that has this little arrow, which means that you've created a shortcut key. So Odette, I'm going to show you how you can create a shortcut onto your desktop as opposed to onto your taskbar, and I hope that will support you. So I'm going to go into my File Explorer, okay, and I'm just going to minimize these so that it's not so cluttered. All right, I do want to go into my OneDrive and onto my desktop, and I've got an object folder over here. Okay, so now, for example, I'm going to be doing basic computers, let's say 3 times a week, and I want to be able to get into it really quickly. Okay, so I'm going to create a shortcut on my desktop so that I don't continuously have to go into my File Explorer, find it, and then open it. Okay, so I'm going to right click because I want more options. All right, and I'm going to share it as a shortcut. Okay, and it's not going to let me do this today because it's still syncing. Okay, so I'll just shortcut the, it's already shortcutted, so that's why it's not opening. So let me just find something else that, let's say, for example, this one. Okay. Okay. I apologize. This is what happens when they update stuff. So, okay, I'm not going to show you, but what I can do is I can drag it and just put it onto my desktop. It's going to move it onto there, and then I can open it immediately. But remember, I've taken it out of my folder. Okay. So I apologize. When they do updates and that kind of thing, they change a lot of the features that we necessarily use. I think that Microsoft just decide, you know, that this feature is no longer valid and that feature is no longer valid. Okay. Helen, do you have a question? Because you're unmuted. No. Okay. All right. So we're back on my presentation. Okay, wait, let me just get to where we. Oh, I didn't even go through that. Hold on. Let me go to your turning your computer on and off. I kind of just skipped over that. There's always going to be two icons that switch your computer on and off. Okay, this first icon over here is your on-off button. Okay, and this icon is usually on the right-hand, the left-hand corner of your screen, which is your start button. It's called a start button. Okay, I'm just going to escape out of there. And you can see over here, I've got a start button on extreme left bottom corner. Okay, so the start button allows me to go into my power button, which is the other button that I'm showing you on my screen. And with that button, I can put my computer to sleep, I can shut it down, or I can restart it. Okay, so shutting down your computer, all right, will close everything on your computer, all right, and put your computer off. I very rarely switch my computer off. I put my computer to sleep. And the reason why I do this is because in the morning, I don't want to wait for it to reboot and find everything that it needs in order to run. So when I put my computer to sleep, it goes to sleep, and as soon as I work with a laptop on this one, as soon as I open my laptop, it wakes up. And exactly what I've been working on yesterday is what I'm going to be seeing today. Okay. And then a restart is almost as though you've had a reboot. So you'll often see on your computer that your computer's asking you for updates or that kind of thing. A restart of your computer will be a lot quicker than a shutdown and turn on. Okay. It will be a reboot of your computer, and it will install any updates that you may need. Okay, so those are the power buttons that you need to know. And obviously on your device, there'll be an on-off button, which will have this similar icon on. All right. Okay, let's go back into our computer. Okay, so I spoke about the desktop. Okay, and running applications. So what I want to do is I would very much like to go into our Explorer, our File Explorer, okay, and show you guys how to kind of create folders and files that actually you can find again easily. Okay. So there's if you have a look on your left-hand side, there's everything that I need in terms of where my files may be stored. Okay, so I've got a quick access bar. So your computer's clever. When you use a file over and over again, it's going to, or a folder, it's going to put it into your quick access bar. It's going to say, I see that you use this file very often. So if I drop down, and when I say drop down, there's always a little arrow next to a drop down access. So I'm going to drop down. Okay. Now my computer is telling me that I very often use my desktop. I often use downloads, I often use documents, and I often use pictures. And these are folders that over the last couple of days, I've gone into quite a few times, okay? So that's quite handy for me, that if I quickly want to just have a look at something that I worked on yesterday, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be in my quick access bar. And it's also going to, in my view screen, show me what I've been working on a bigger scale. Okay, so if we have a look here, you can see that I've opened all of these files over the last couple of days and have been working in them. Okay, so that's the quick access bar. Now, all of you will have a this PC, okay, and this PC will have what we call generally, and unless your IT person has changed it, it's called a C drive. And a C drive is actually the memory or the capacity of what your computer can hold. Okay, so I have 2 add-ons onto my computer which are becoming quite popular, which is a OneDrive, which is extra storage, and that is kept in the cloud. And I have Dropbox, which means that I can share files with other people, and we can both work in the same file. But I'll get back into that just now. So if I drop down this PC, you will always find an operating system. OS is for operating system, and it's a C drive. Okay, so if I go into my C drive, all of these folders are on my C drive. Now, if your computer is incredibly slow, what's interesting is to go and see how much more space you have on your C drive. So as you know, computers have different specs. Some of them have bigger memory, some of them have big storage, some of them have very small storage, okay? So if you're struggling to save things and that kind of thing, you might be running out of memory. So remember I said to you, if I want to go into my C drive, okay, on my mouse, I'm going to left click. If I want more options, I'm going to right click, okay? So what do I want to do at this point? I want to see how much more space I have on my C drive, okay? So I'm going to right click, all right? And it's going to bring up a new toolbar for me. So what out of there do I want to have a look at? I want to look at the properties of my storage. Okay, so I'm going to go to properties, and it's going to tell me how much space I've used and how much free space I still have on my computer. And then it's going to tell me how much I actually have. All right, so I've got, this would be 500 gigs of storage on my C drive, on my actual computer. Okay, so that's always interesting to see how much more space. So if you're using, and I'm sure you're all familiar with a USB or a flash drive, it's got many, many names. It doesn't always tell you on the flash drive how much space is on that flash drive. So if you put it into your computer and you right-clicked and you went to properties, it would tell you how much space is in it. Can you move a file onto that flash drive? Okay, so that's just a bit of information. So on the C drive, on my hard drive, I want to create folders, okay, and folders that I can come back to that are easily accessible, okay. So on this computer, like everything else on your computer, you've got options, okay. So if you have a look at the top, all right, what does it say here? If I hold my mouse over it, it's once again, we could right click, or we could go to the top of our screen and go to our properties to see how much space we had. Or alternatively, we can go and create a new folder from there. okay? Or there's a drop down here. And what I suggest to you guys is go and play with these things. Go see what they do. When something has a drop down, go and see what it does. If you are going to mess something up, remember your computer thinks that you are dwarf. It's going to say to you, are you sure you want to do this? And if you're unsure, don't do it. But the only way that we do get familiar with computers is if we play around with computers. So I'm going to create a new folder. So this is one way of creating a new folder. And it's highlighted as I create it, which means that I can immediately start typing over the highlighted area, which means I don't have to take my mouse down and highlight it. I can just say day 1 training. Okay. So, and if I enter through that, my folder has been created. All right. So now in my folder, obviously, I need to create a directory. So a directory would be exactly the same. A lot of you might remember, I can only see a couple of faces, and the 2 faces that I do see, you might remember the thing called the yellow pages, where we used to get that big thick book, and it was a directory that we could find telephone numbers or find services that we need. This is exactly the same thing. You're creating a directory in order to find your files. So I'm going to open my day 1 training, and it says to me this folder is empty. I don't have anything in this folder that I can actually open. So once again, get organized right from the beginning. All right. Once you get a computer that's just filled with stuff, you've got stuff on your desktop, you've got stuff in your C drive, you've got stuff all over the place, you start duplicating stuff. And duplicating stuff just actually creates or takes more space from your memory. So it's always a good idea to start fresh and go, okay, I'm going to create brand new folders and directories and put everything that I need. So if you are starting with a computer and it's a blank slate, get it organized from day 1. Think about what you want to call your folders and where you want to save them. Okay. So let's go day 1 training. All right. Now I have different concerns and different training that I do. So for my day 1 training, I'm going to create folders for each institution that I do training for. Okay. So once again, I could go up to the icon over there that says create a new folder, or alternatively, and once again, right click, give me more options, left click, go. So I'm going to right click on it, okay, on a blank space, and I'm going to go to new, and I'm going to go to folder. All right, so I'm going to call this folder Object. Oops, if I can spell it. And let's do a, okay. Enter, it's created my folder. Okay, now I want another folder called WTF, because I also do training for WTF, which is work training fitness. Not what you guys were thinking. Okay, so I'm going to call this one WTF. Okay, and then so I'm going to enter there, so that creates my folder, and then I'm going to create another folder under that, and I'm going to call that one MOTS, for example. Okay, so now I've got my 3 entities. Now I want to double check myself as to where did I start with this. Okay, now if you have a look in your bar over here, okay, it's going to tell you that it's saved under this computer, under your C drive, under day 1 training. All right, now have a look at what happens on that bar when I open up Object. Okay, so it tells me exactly where I am in my directory. Okay, I'm going to just quickly take some files. Okay, I'm going to and dir. I'm going to right click because I want more options. I'm going to copy and I'm going to go back to my Explorer. Okay, my C drive and day one training, AutoJet. I'm going to paste some files in there. Okay, make sense? Any questions? Everyone with me? Please ask questions. I love questions. Okay. All right. Now, let me open my Explorer from fresh. Okay. And it's 25 days later. Let's go. 25 days later. And I can remember that last month sometime I did a presentation for Aut, but I can't remember what I called it or where I filed it. Okay, so I'm going to think logically about where my files and folders might be. Okay, and I go, I don't know if I saved it in my Dropbox. I don't know if I saved it in my OneDrive. I don't know if I saved it in my Quick Access. I'm really not sure. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our C drive, operating system C drive. Okay, and let's say I still don't remember what it's called, but I remember what I'm looking for is a background. Okay, so the key word that I'm going to use for that search is background. So I'm going to put in here background. Okay, and I can guarantee you that 99% of of any program that you've got a search bar, and a search bar is indicated by this magnifying glass. Okay, so it says background, but that doesn't look familiar at all, okay, to me 25 days later. So I might need to add another word. So I'm going to put in AutoJet, and can't spell today at all, in fact. Okay, nah. Okay, so it's not bringing anything up, but I can double check by pushing the arrow key, and then you'll see it says it's working on it. It's looking for a background of AutoJet.
Tracey, Hannah's put a question in the chat box while your laptop is searching. She said, do you have to copy into the C drive? Why not just documents?
Okay, so there are various ways of doing it. I just did it quickly because when you're in a document and you go file save as, and I'll do that now for you, you can actually say to it where you want it to save. So I'll open up a Word document now. So there's various ways of getting documents into your Explorer. You can copy and paste, you can drag and drop, or you can initially from the document save it directly into that folder. Okay. So my computer's searching, it's going, whoa, there's nothing on this. All right. So I'm going to give it a chance to finish searching. Are there any other questions while it's searching?
Sorry, Tracey, my computer just froze during this, during this meeting, this webinar. So I then had to, switch it off, and now I've switched it on again because the cell phone was not the same, and so I've lost out, missed out again. But there is I don't know. Is it possible that I'm linked to some other computer? Can some other computer hijack my computer? Is it possible, or is it just getting too much information? It's getting slower. Do I need to upgrade it? Sorry.
It possibly is that you've got too much information on it, it needs to be upgraded. It might just need, and this is quite technical, a defrag or a cleanup.
Okay.
You might just need some more memory. So yeah, no one can hijack your computer unless you give it permission. I know we watch these movies where they ransomware your computers and all of that kind of stuff. That's hackers, and that's going to be big business. They're not going to go for us little guys, you know, that have our own little business and that kind of thing. So unless you have given permission to somebody to use your computer, no one can, they can't get in unless it's a hacker.
Okay, because I tell you why, I've got a Core i7. I'm using a Core i7 laptop, and I don't expect it to do this, but maybe I do need to go into a place and also like Incredible Connection and ask them, not that I'm plugging them, but to clean it up. Is that correct?
Absolutely. You could also just have a Teams meeting with me, and I can take over your computer, Team Viewer, which is one of the most amazing projects, especially for an IT technician. So you could give me access to your computer from Team Viewer, and I could go into your computer and just clean it up for you, which would take a couple of seconds. So that is one of the most amazing products out there. There are different versions of it. My preference is Team Viewer because I know it, I'm familiar with it. Okay.
Thank you. Yes,
happy
thank you
to
very
assist
much.
you there. All
Thank
right.
you. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
This search is taking way too long, and you know, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cancel the search. Okay. So now.
Yes, can I also ask another question? That let's say you're searching there, then you mistaken the spelling. Can it correct you, or it will search non-stop like what is doing now?
It will search non-stop.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, because it thinks that you know what you're searching for. It's not like and what's a nice feature on your phone is that autocorrect. Unfortunately, computers don't have that.
Okay.
As I said right in the beginning, sorry, I don't know how to say your name, Cornele.
Moyo, yes.
Okay. What I said to you in the beginning, if you put rubbish into the computer, it's going to give you rubbish.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
So if I put a spelling mistake, so if I put a spelling mistake in here, that's what it's going to search, because that's what it thinks I'm asking for. Okay. Yes. But now we've got to a stage here where it's not finding background objects. Okay. So now I need to think again. All right. So maybe if I just search objects, okay. So I'm just going to delete to there. It's going to bring up over here a couple of options. Okay. And then I can go, oh, maybe it's called, so a PPTX would be a presentation. Okay. So maybe it's not that. Maybe, no, it's not what I'm looking for. But let's go and see what else says object on my computer. This should work a lot faster.
Does it matter if you use capitals or not?
Not necessarily, no. And also the myth of, do you remember when we had, right in the beginning, when emails came in, you had to do it capital sensitive. Nowadays, it's not the case. If I type your email address in all caps, it's still going to find your email address. So that's been done away with actually a long time ago, but nobody ever kind of told us that kind of stuff. But don't be afraid to, you know, if you're in caps, don't go back and retype it. 9 times out of 10 it will work. Okay, so this is not working now. Okay, so maybe I didn't do it on my C drive. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this PC. Now I wanted to search the whole PC. Okay, so I'm going to stop that search because now it's taking too long and I'm getting irritated, and my Zoom session is in 5 minutes. And I know 3 years ago I did this thing. So I'm going to go to my entire PC. All right, so it's going to search all of these folders that it's brought up here. Okay. Now if I type in Orjet, okay, and go, it's going to broaden the search and look at all of the folders that I've created on this PC, as well as the C drive. So this should work a bit faster. And I feel like I'm running out of time. I've loved doing this session today, guys, and I hope that you've benefited from it. It's been such fun. I'm just going to quickly. Okay. So it's brought up that one. Okay. And that's once again my presentation. Okay. So 5 minutes before my presentation, I'm looking for it. So it's found that for me. Okay. I'm just going to close that down. Helen, I think you asked about the Word document. So I'm going to open up my Word and I'm going to just open up a document and let's just go into this document, for example. So now when I've worked on this document, okay, I'm then going to go to File, okay, and it's going to bring up my little arrow like this. What do I want to do? I want to save as. And save as means I want to make a copy in a different location. Okay. So where do I want to save this document? So if you have a look at the top, and it's very similar to what we looked at in the Explorer, in the File Explorer, it's telling me that it's going to save this document on my C drive, under users, under Dropbox, under marriage, under forms required. Okay. Now, is that where I want to file this document? And I'm going, no, hold on a second. I actually want to file this document in that training folder that we created. Okay. So what I can do is I can then go browse, which is going to bring up my File Explorer like we had earlier. Now, I remember, okay, that on my C drive, I created a day 1 training, okay, and I'm going to put that into my MOTS folder, and I'm going to save it, okay. So now if I close that down, and I go back into here, remember, C drive, day 1 training, MOTS, there's my document that I saved in that document, okay. Now, the other nice thing is I can go, hold on a second. It's actually meant to be in the WTF folder. Okay. So what can I do with it? I can right click and I can go copy it into the WTF folder. Or alternatively, I can come here and see that there's a little drop down arrow next to my day 1 training. So I can click on that. And I actually want it in this WTF folder, not in the MOTS folder. So what I can do is I can take the documents and I can drag and drop it, which is moving it into that folder. Okay. It doesn't want to let me do it because my document is open. Okay. So I should have actually kept that. Hold on one second. I'm going to show you a little thing quickly. Okay. So we're going to go File, Save As. I want to save it into that folder. It's going to say to me, okay, cool. So let's go in here. And now I want to drag it into that WTF folder. Okay. Now it's saying to me, action can't be completed because the file is open in Word. So if you just read these pop-ups that come up, all right, it's going to tell you what the problem is. So as I said to you in the beginning, it thinks we're doof and it goes, hold on a second, you can't do 2 actions at once. You can't have the computer open and move it at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel that action, all right? I'm going to go to my Word, I'm going to close my Word document. Then I can move it into whichever folder that I want. So now I drag and dropped it into my WTF folder. Now I'm going, oh dear, it shouldn't have gone into the WTF folder. It should have gone into the AuthJet folder. So once again, and I'm going to show you another way of doing this. I'm going to right click. What I want to do is I want to move this document. Now there isn't an option to move it. All right. So let's think logically. I'm going to cut it out of this one. All right, and paste it into the next one because I no longer want it in this document. So as soon as I do the cut, you'll see that the icon and everything goes a little bit faded, which means that it's cut it and put it onto your clipboard. And if I go into AuthJet and I go paste, okay, it's going to paste it in there. So now it's no longer in the WTF folder or the MOTS folder. It's now in the AuthJet folder, which means that I'm not creating duplicates and duplicates and duplicates. So very often our first instinct is to copy and paste. All right. Cut and paste means that you're cutting it out of somewhere and pasting it into something else. All right. Okay, so we've got 5 minutes left, and I'd love to answer any questions that you guys have, because I think I've basically covered everything on my presentation. Yeah, we're ready for questions. So, guys.
Are you ever have training face to face?
Yes, I do. And I do it for food. I still don't. No, I'm joking. I do face-to-face training. We've also got a training venue in Modderfontein where we give basic training, and we do 5 or 6 day training sessions under the WTF banner, which is Work Training Fitness. So if there's enough people, we would run a computer course with that. And hopefully AuthJet is also going to be utilizing our services on these Zooms, but also very happy to do one-on-one training with you guys.
So how do we arrange that? Because all this is, oh, it's fine. I can sort of see what's going on, but not really. I don't know how you get to the thing that you're doing. Okay, perfect.
I'm going to, in the chat, I'm going to put my telephone number and my email address. And you are welcome to contact me directly. Okay, Trace, over to you if no one else has questions.
So, Trace, thank you so much for this incredible webinar. I think as you were talking to us all, I was thinking in my head, oh gosh, I think I've duplicated